of Allegiance. So I have the flag here in the background. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Roll call for the record. Board members present include Brian Kofel, David Olson, Howard Kruschke,
Jeff Redmond, unknown.
Jeff Redmond. There you are. Okay. And we'll back at the record for Pam taking the minutes. Other folks present. We also have Joe Donovan from the Donovan Group who will be presenting under item 9. Various administrators and staff and folks from the public. All right. I'd like to remind everyone that this meeting was properly noticed and it is being recorded and we posted on our YouTube channel. The next item of business under item 5 is the election of board officers. So that's the reason I called the meeting to order. This is the annual reorganization meeting. And so shortly I will ask for nominations and there are a couple options. One is to do that individually for our 4 officers, president, vice president, clerk, and treasurer, or also, as in the past, entertain a motion for a full slate of officers. So are there any questions on that process?
No.
All right, hearing none, I will open up the floor for nominations of officers.
Nominate Howard for president.
Okay.
Second.
A second, okay. So we have a nomination by Jeff Redmond and a second by Kirk Lixit for Howard Kruschke as president.
Are there any other nominations?
Nope.
All right, so we need a nomination to close. We need a motion to close nominations, correct?
Motion to close
For president?
nominations
Second.
for president.
Motion Kirk, second Jeff to close nominations for president. All right, all those in favor of closing nominations indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed? All right, motion carried. Hearing as Howard as the only nominee, we need to take a vote on that as well, correct?
Yes.
All right, all those in favor of Howard Kruschke as president, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Who is the opposition?
I think that was a lag, not an opposition, but I can't be sure. Kirk.
Okay. All right. Motion carried. Howard, I will turn the meeting over to you as our president. Congratulations on serving as our president for another year. How many years does that make?
Lost count.
Several.
All right, the floor is yours.
Okay, well, thank you, everybody, for your vote of confidence. Next on our agenda is vote for the vice president of the board.
I nominate Kirk Lixit.
Second.
Okay. We have a motion and a second for Kirk. Are there any other nominations?
Move
Okay,
to
otherwise
close.
I'll entertain a motion. Okay, I got a motion to close from Scott.
Second.
Okay. Okay, I've got a second. Okay. Okay, any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor of Kirk as vice president, answer by saying aye.
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 Opposed?
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. Congratulations, Kirk. Next, we have our board clerk.
Thank you very much.
It's presently held by Jeff Redmond. Do we have nominations for board clerk?
I
Nominate Jeff Redmond. Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second for Jeff Redmond as board clerk. Any further nominations?
Move to close.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to close. All those in favor of motion to close indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Okay, vote for Jeff Redmond as clerk. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Congratulations, Jeff.
Thank you.
Next is our position of board treasurer, presently held by Scott DeGrosse. Do I have,
So move. Move, Scott. Second.
okay. We have a motion and a second for Scott as our board treasurer. Are there any other nominations? Do I have a move to close
Move to
nomination?
the nominations if there are no
Second.
further.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to close nominations. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Okay, those in favor of Scott DeGrosse as the board treasurer signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, any opposition? Okay, congratulations, Scott.
Thank you.
Another term as director. Okay, with that, we'll move on to the next item on our agenda, which is our public comment. And I know we had a few that indicated that they would like to comment tonight. I'd like to limit the comments to 5 minutes per our policy. So I don't know who we have online. Who would like to start? You could indicate who you are and your issue. So. Okay. Is there anybody out there? Some of you are on, some of the citizens might be on mute yet. So please unmute yourself so we can hear you. Okay, I saw Christy June was on. Can she hear me?
At one point, I saw that she had left the meeting.
Okay. And we had a
She's
just,
there now. She's there
back.
now.
She is there
She's
now?
on
Okay.
mute. Yep, she's on mute. Christy, I think your microphone is on mute.
okay, can you unmute yourself? Indication unmute is on the bottom.
Oh, she brought in tech support.
Christy, if you can hear,
Okay.
touch the screen and press the red microphone.
There.
There we go.
Now I think we got it. My daughter had to help me. Sorry, I'm not used to Google. So are we in the section 6 comment section?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, I know that. Are you still there?
Yeah. Yes.
Everybody calls when it's the wrong time, right? So Jessica Klatt wanted to join into the meeting as well, but she's having some internet issues. So a group of us parents, we are interested in trying to understand the reasonings behind canceling the graduation ceremony and are interested in having you reconsider having that in-person graduation ceremony. As I understand it, that maybe the board doesn't make that decision, but the community is in support of having that in person. So I'm here representing the people to support that. What kind of feedback can you give us?
Okay, who wants to start? You want to start, Tim?
I can. You bet. You bet. So, yeah, thanks for asking. First of all, appreciate that, seeking to understand and having a conversation. So, basically, we, as I think we've messaged for weeks, we were intent on holding a graduation ceremony in person as well. But then the Wisconsin Department of Health Services came out on, I think, around Thursday, May 7th it was. Yeah, I believe it was Thursday, May 7th, with guidance, and which we've been following, Department of Health, DPI, our local department's advice this whole time. So, and that, as it relates to K through 12 schools, they said at this time, the Department of Health Services recommends that schools cancel or postpone all in-person ceremonies for spring and summer graduations. Public gatherings such as traditional graduation ceremonies are not advised until the state has met benchmarks articulated in the state's Badger Bounce Back Plan, and the state determines that it's safe to do so. So, of course, whenever we get information like this, we kind of look to other people to say, what does this mean exactly? So the next day we were on a state call with John Bales, who is the Wisconsin Association of School District Administrator Director, led a webinar for pretty much every superintendent in the state, and then many other administrators asking what that means. And he said it means exactly what it means. Spring and summer means, all the way up until, the start of school. Then the advice we've been given by them, CISA 11 superintendent, Wisconsin Association of School Boards, legal counsel, the local Department of Health directors, everyone we've talked to said, talk to your local Department of Health, number one, get the advice of your legal counsel, number two. Number three, talk to your insurance carriers regarding our liability. If somebody were to get sick, if we defied that recommendation. Talk to your workers' compensation people, because it's a workers' compensation claim if anybody gets sick during a ceremony that we organize. And I feel like I'm forgetting somebody. Anyway, so yeah, again, CISA 11 superintendents met on Tuesday. That Tuesday, Kurt Soderberg met with all the Middle Border Conference principals as well, and everybody understood it the same way and listened to the same advice, and collectively, made the same decision that, we're going to follow Department of Health Services recommendation. As much as it pains us to do so, it wasn't an easy message to send, because we understand it's an emotional issue. But ultimately, when we're, as leaders, we're put in charge of making those difficult decisions in what's in everyone's best interest. And it truly is a public health issue, not just for our students, not just for our school, but for communities. And obviously, this is something none of us have ever went through. Some would say nobody's an expert, because, all we can do is rely on the health experts' advice, and the nearest thing they have to relate to is other pandemics and what worked there. So we ultimately made that decision and communicated it early, so people could make plans and understand. Why so early? Say, well, a lot can change. They can, but the Department of Health said summer is off. So that was July. Then, coupled with all the universities that have conducted graduation ceremonies the past few weeks, and the positive feedback on that, many on this call witnessed firsthand how special those ceremonies can be, even though they're not in person. So Kurt and his staff are working hard to plan that. I think we have something really special planned. We understand it's not as good as the real thing, but those are the cards that we were dealt, and the difficult decision that we had to make. So I think that pretty much sums up in a nutshell.
Is it fair to say that you didn't feel like you had a choice? I mean, it seems like a lot of this is dependent on community members, and that if we're willing to take a risk, like have us sign liability forms, and we will not take any, cause any liability for the school district. These students deserve that. And I do know that there are other school districts in the area that are holding their in-person graduations. And
I'd be curious which ones those are.
Clayton has
Well-
25 seniors. I know they are. They're the only ones I'm aware of. Who else is?
Well, as far as I know, River Falls is, because they have, I mean, at least they haven't communicated that yet. They've communicated they're still having it in person. You're telling me
That would
otherwise?
shock me.
Not that I'm aware of.
Because they're not in Middle Border Conference.
No.
I say that only because, you know, we are in close contact with them. I mean, I suppose they could change. I think, you know, what you're going to find is that as parents, we're going to do everything we can to allow these students to have a graduation ceremony, whether or not the school district supports that. Because we're not afraid and we are not concerned for our health, and everybody is healthy in this community. And I think there are a lot of things that are going on in the world that don't seem to truly apply to us, but you know, we all have a right to our opinions, and I think there's plenty of scientific background to support the kinds of things that we're willing to do for our families and our children.
Well, I guess, Christy, my opinion on that, and I've had to weigh this very heavily, even in my family, in which we have a summer reunion, which is upwards of 170 people for 3 or 4 days. We've had to cancel that this year because of the state DHS rules. So we've had to forego that. I guess this idea that we are canceling a graduation, I guess, kind of ruffled my feathers, because we aren't canceling a graduation. We are schooling it, but I guess this idea that we're only concerned, you seem to be concerned about the seniors, and I can appreciate that, but I think that the broader aspect is we have to also be concerned for the community as a whole, and that is more than just the senior class, and we're trying to protect that as best we can.
I think so, and I think, you know, participation could be voluntary. That's the way I see it, and it does seem, I mean, I get where you're concerned, but
it also depends on, ceremony would also be dependent on which members of my staff are willing to participate in this, and at this point I'm not willing to put those people at risk.
that's fine. And if the school district is unwilling to participate in, you know, any kind of graduation ceremony other than video, then, you know, we'll make sure that we manage our things as our own personal events. But
Howard, I'd just like to comment. My daughter announced in kindergarten that she wanted to be a doctor, and she graduated from University of Minnesota Med School on May 1st, a 23-year goal, and she did not have an in-person graduation. They did it on a video thing. It was amazing. She was, of course, hurt initially that they wouldn't be able to have it in person, but she thought the ceremony was awesome. And we were able actually to have, we had one TV screen that showed the graduation live, you know, virtually. And then we had another big screen TV with all of our family members zoomed in. So we actually had more people able to participate than ever could have been allowed to go to the graduation because they had limited seating. So, I mean, it's just tough. I mean, nobody's doing this to hurt the kids. And I can share all of the things that the University of Minnesota Med School did to make it special for, you know, 250 medical students that graduated. And it was pretty awesome. We had a nice time. You know, to be honest, I personally enjoyed the virtual more than I would have sitting in my suit for 4 hours in a auditorium in Minneapolis. But you know, I appreciate it. It was a big disappointment to her, and she had 23 years that she worked to achieve that, and wasn't able to have a graduation. I mean, but if we had the graduation and one person came in that was sick and infected 500 other people, what kind of responsibility would the school district have about that? I mean, and everybody can sign waivers, but what about the people that get infected that didn't come to the thing, but they got exposed because we chose to have a mass gathering against the advice of the Department of Health and without insurance, because we aren't going to have insurance for that event. I can't imagine the school district having an event where we wouldn't have insurance. I mean, it's not easy, but that's just what the school district has to do.
Okay.
That's fair. I mean, we, as parents wanted to understand the decision that was made and why it was made. And because it came at the time that the governor or the Supreme Court lifted the ban and allowed, Wisconsin businesses to open. We felt hopeful that at that time, maybe July would come and we would participate, but it seemed very premature to change that. Now, we're not involved in the day-to-day conversations that you are, and I get it. You guys have got a lot of jumping through hoops that you've been doing as a community. I'm sure it's been very stressful on you as well. But I think as parents, we just wanted to understand what happened.
Okay.
and whether or not there was any opportunity to turn that around. And if not, then, we'll pursue our own opportunities. And I get the video graduation, I'm sure it's going to be great. We'll appreciate that. I think that the kids need more than that. They've been doing video for a long time, and in-person type activities for them is what is most meaningful to them. It's about the kids, not about so much about the parents and the people.
But it's about the community, and the lifting the ban by the Supreme Court was a legal decision, not a public health decision. And my son graduated from U of M on Saturday. Excuse me. And I would have loved for him to have a giant commencement ceremony.
Sure.
He put in all the work too. I totally get it.
Yep.
But it's a bigger community than any one or any small group. So
Yep, and downtown Minneapolis is a different beast than what we're living in here. But either way, I'm just here, to represent these kids and to try and
we're not
understand what
unsympathetic to you,
happened.
because we do understand your desire. And yeah.
Howard, I'd like to chime in if I could. This is Kurt.
Hi, Kurt.
I don't know how many
Go ahead.
people on the board. I don't know how many people on the board know, but I have a senior son, so
Yep.
this is particularly gut wrenching for me. I did have Kennedy graduate from Madison virtually, and it was really special. It was painful at first in terms of getting the news, but I think it's important to, this doesn't make this decision lightly, and we need to look no further than the fact that I have a son who's a senior. I agree with Scott. The lifting of the ban on that Friday was a legal decision. Honestly, I'd ask you to reflect on if you have an event where it's optional or whatever. What does that do for equity in terms of the kids that can't or won't or have parents who are compromised? We are big about equity and making sure that we include all kids as much as possible. And when you have an optional event, it smacks of not including everyone because some flat out cannot. We know we have parents who have illnesses and they flat out could not come to us, something like that. And so I understand your passion as a parent. I feel the same about my children. And I would ask you and your group to reflect on how fair it is to those kids when you say, well, we're going to have a celebration, we're going to have an optional thing. They can't because mom has cancer or because any other number of other things. Those are real things. And so I appreciate your passion and your honesty tonight and coming forward and speaking. But I think there's some things to reflect on there that are important to think about.
You know, having been a cancer survivor, I can certainly appreciate that. And also being traumatized with the loss of, you know, a soulmate in my life and traumatic events, I can appreciate all of them. And especially those parents that don't get to have a child graduate this year because their child did not make it this year. We do not intend to not include anyone. It would be a choice if they wanted to participate. We would recognize everyone virtually or in person. So they would not be excluded. We don't know what we're going to do, but, you know, just, we have the best interest in mind, and we certainly don't want to put anyone at risk that wouldn't want to participate or be a part of that. So, you know, we're sensitive to that as well.
Okay.
We certainly
know
are
that-
coming- Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
We certainly have a very common ground, and what we want what's best for kids too. I think we understand each other. We're both put in tough situations because of this that are beyond our control. But yeah, I think I know it's clear. We want what's best for kids, and we are trying to reach a compromise that meets all stakeholders' needs.
All right. Well, thank you for your time.
Okay.
Thank
Is there
you as
any
well.
other? Are there any other public comments at this time? Okay, hearing none, then we will move on to our next item.
Thank you,
Is
Christy.
our,
Thank you.
yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we will move on to our next item, which is our highlight on youth. It's a presentation of our good and talented teacher, Susan Sankey. So I will turn it over. Tim?
Hi, everyone.
Hi, Susan.
I am Susie Sankey. I'm the district's gifted and talented teacher. I'm also the elementary teacher for the virtual school as well. But tonight I'm just talking about GT, and thank you for giving me this opportunity to talk. I've been working closely with Nick and Pat, and I hope to just share some positivity in light of everything that's going on. So the district is currently serving 44 students in the Gifted and Talented program in grades 3 through 8. And those students are identified in two different areas. One being academic specific, which is just reading or just math. And then the other area is general intellect, which is all subject areas. And that number of 44 students is projected to keep growing in the coming years. So that's really exciting for the district. And I just started working with the students this winter. And although my time with them in person was short, I had some of them share some of their highlights of our time together and so far this year. And some of them said that they love like the challenge problems and the problems of the day. Another thing that they said they really enjoy is our social emotional time together. So not only do I meet with the students in an academic setting, I also meet with them specifically devoted to social emotional and topics directly related to students with giftedness. So that time is once a week, and we have typically a discussion, and then we do some sort of game or activity together, and that is mixed grades and mixed identification areas. So it brings in a large group of students for that. And another thing that the students said they really enjoyed this year was the field trips. So CISA 11 is a huge supporter of the Gifted and Talented program in our district, but then in all the other districts around us, not only for the students, but for the teachers as well. So the students love going up there for the day and for the lunch, of course, but one of the field trips that we were able to attend was a biotechnology day which the students got to take E. coli and manipulate it, and they ended up making it glow. And another field trip was one that was called Sweet to Be Me, and this one was specifically devoted to social emotional topics, such as perfectionism or anxiety. They had a local artist there that painted with the students. They also got to play games and do movement, and this was right around Valentine's Day, so they got a bunch of candy as well. And then 2 other field trips that were on the agenda, but we weren't able to attend, hopefully next year, was Ignite STEM, and the other one was a writing and a screenwriting field trip, which was actually like 3 different sessions where they got to create a film. So that's 4, I think they do 4 field trips per year, and they're all based off of a grant, so they're all free of charge. And CISA 11 also does networking meetings for the teachers. So I go up there a few times a year and we all network together and discuss different topics such as identification or programming, and we're able to just come together and share ideas and things that we're doing. So, and then I was also able to take them to UW Stout for a career STEM festival, and the students got to go there and essentially just went into different groups, and one of the groups being they got to fly a drone. Another one was they went in the foundry and they were able to do aluminum casting, so they did like a big UW Stout coin, and then they got to take a campus tour, and then they also participated in a lab that was looking at the particulate matter in cigarettes, where they essentially, in this vent hood, they like smoked a cigarette with a syringe and it went through a filtration system. And when they were done, they took the filter out and then compared it to the filter at the beginning and looked at how brown it was, and they weighed it. And it was just a definite real world example of something that cigarettes do to you. So I believe Pam has a video. I have a few students that wanted to share something that they enjoy about the Gifted and Talented program. I think Pam has it.
Okay, you have it, Tim?
Oh.
Okay.
Or Tim.
Okay, can you?
First of all, that you're in like a small group setting, and sometimes it's fun to be in just a small group. Another reason is it makes your brain think harder. And my last reason is
Can you see that?
hi, my name
Yep.
is
Yeah.
Handbook, and these are a few reasons that I enjoy teaching.
All right, let's start it one more time. Celia Heinbuck. All right.
Hi, my name is Celia Handbook, and these are a few reasons that I enjoy GT. First of all, that you're in like a small group setting, and sometimes it's fun to be in like just a small group. Another reason is it makes your brain think harder. And my last reason is where it like challenges you to think harder about things, not just answer it like there's A, B, and C answers. You get to like put your own answer, and that's why I think GT is fun and enjoyable. What We Did in GT by Evie Hansen. My favorite things. Some of the things that I liked most about GT was that I had some things that made me feel challenged. I also liked the time and date that we would meet. For my group, we would meet on Tuesdays during 5th hour. One of the favorite field trips that we went on for me was the one when we went to UW Stout. While we were there, I went on the tour of the campus and it was a lot of fun. The library there has 5 floors, and I thought that it was amazing. This is a picture of the library there with all 5 floors. My favorite activities that we did was when we did social emotional. Social emotional is at the end of the day, and while we do that, we are asked to fill out a form or quiz of some kind, and then we are free to play games. My favorite game to play during this time is Snap Circuits Junior. I like to figure out how all the pieces go together, and if it doesn't work, I like trying to figure out how to make it work again. This is a picture of the Snap Circuits set. The end. This has been a slideshow and video about GT and all the fun that I have had in it.
Hi, my name is Maya Gustafson, and I'm in the math group for GT. What I most love about GT is how we get the amazing opportunity to challenge ourselves and get to build off of what we're learning in the classroom. Bye!
So I hope that was some positivity to share for the evening and that you guys enjoyed the video of the kids sharing their experience. And thank you for your continued support with the GT program. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Susie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, thank you, Susan. We appreciate that. It's always interesting to see our students in action, and that we're spending time having a chance to spend more time with our GT students is terrific. So thank you for your work.
Yep, you're welcome.
Other comments from the board? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Then we will move on to the next item. There's comments from our board members and superintendent. We'll start with the support staff meet and greet or meet and confer meetings update. So, committee, Scott, do you want to?
Yeah, Tricia, if you want to go first, I can, or you can, or I can. It's up to you.
I don't think Trisha's with us.
Yeah.
Oh, she's not here. Okay. So we had 4 groups meet. Started with the grounds. Larry filled us in on kind of the things that the processes they've been putting into place, the extra things they're doing in regard to the COVID situation, and we had a nice chat with him. We did tell all of the groups the referendum timeline process and what we were hoping to do with the excess levy override. Our next group was the nurses. It's kind of an incredible group too. They're always overwhelmed with students. Now they have less student activity, so they're able to catch up on some things in terms of trainings and staff training, getting things in line. A couple of the things they brought to our attention that are uniquely new this year is our personal protection equipment budget is not going to be adequate anymore. There's a lot of things that this is going to shed some light on in the health side of our school district. They had a lot of good ideas. Again, another. My biggest takeaway of the whole evening was, once again, we all know it, but this is an incredible staff that we have working in our district. Our next group was the paras. We spoke with them about a number of things. Some of the things that we are able to and have addressed. Some of the things that we could only address with an excess levy override. They are the biggest group, and as a diverse group, you can't come up with a single takeaway. From their surveys, their biggest concerns are pay and benefits, both things that would only be able to be dramatically affected if we are able to pass a referendum for excess levy override. We had a pretty good sized group of them. I think there were 12 or 14 on the chat. And the last group that met in person was the 12-month secretaries. Again, like a lot of groups, they're similarly situated that pay and benefits are part of the issue. For their group, one of their key concerns is better defining their duties and roles, and structure. Some of the pay is structured based on what they're required to do, especially in terms of if it's mandatory reporting or mandatory state mandated licensure, that sort of thing. So they're going to work on helping us see what they do and align their duties to make it easier for us to determine. And they were talking about maybe we would do like a grade. So 12-month secretary, grade 1, grade 2, grade A, grade B, whatever that might look like. That would be more in line with actually what they're doing. And if they get a new job because some new mandate comes through, they're going to track how much time they put into that. So it's going to be a work in progress, but they brought a lot of good ideas to the table as well. Everyone's question was, what does the summer look like and what does the fall look like? And our answer was, I wish we knew. You know, and they all know that. They all know that we don't have a crystal ball and we can't come up with that answer. And one last, but we're going to work and we're going to do our best to do it, and so are they. And one last thing I took away from it was part of the nurses. They talked about more student time in the summer and that sort of thing, and possibly going from a 9-month position to a 10-month position. Definitely something we should talk about. So, Tim, if you have anything else that you had from that.
No, I do not. I'm looking at my notes, and looks like you covered everything. Yeah, you know, I guess one thing to add with the paras, especially the thing that stuck out to all of us was the discrepancy in the insurance, how much they pay, what percentage of their salary they pay towards insurance versus other staff. So that, as we mentioned, you take that times 38 different employees, it goes a big number. So that might be something we want to consider in our compensation consideration for a possible referendum. Maybe when we have our feedback sessions with our staff, some may choose benefits over salary. We're saying, 110% is the compensation plan we're proposing, but we may want to ask or at least consider the benefits as well. I know that's been a goal of the board for some time, to try to have more equity amongst our staff, which is very unique to education and not so unique to other industry.
Along that line, we need actual numbers to get a better understanding, and we didn't have at our fingertips that night the number of no benefit, single benefit, family benefit, the dollar values. So those are things that we'll have to put together and understand. And then one other thing that along those lines, there are 4 paras who are uniquely situated, where they're a para, maybe more of an educator, maybe of this, maybe of that, based on some duties that they do. So we're going to do a split of para classification. Is that how you would say it, Tim?
Yeah.
So there'd be a para 2 would be someone who actually has classroom educational responsibilities.
Correct.
And what was the other one? There was another one that wasn't classroom educational, but it was additional.
Yeah, health assistant / counseling / secretarial.
Oh yeah, thank you.
Yep.
And there's some there's potentially some things that we should look into to the para groups that we would, if not even a pay structure or benefit, if nothing else changed, but a divergence of title. So if it was para slash something, or it might help them. For instance, the ESL para isn't her ESL portion isn't designated on our website. So when her cohorts from other districts are trying to contact our ESL person, she doesn't really show up as that expertise. So those are little things, but it matters to their ability to collaborate, and it matters to their perception of how they're of who they are within the district, I believe.
And one last thing to add, Scott, we have a follow-up meeting with Pam, Elaine, and Jen to answer those questions and dig deeper into policies and practices and rationales, et cetera, and their equity questions. So the committee and I and those three ladies are meeting virtually next Wednesday, and then we'll follow up. It's not a one and done. We're going to follow up with the groups and get back to them.
Okay.
Questions from anybody on that?
No, I think we're good. It sounds like good work. So hopefully we can come to a conclusion on it to the benefit of everybody. So appreciate the hard work. So thank you, committee.
You're welcome. And once again, I'd just like to thank all of the non-teaching staff. It's just an incredible bunch. I really enjoy being able to get together with them periodically.
Okay. Thank you, committee. We'll move on to the next item, which is our teacher meet and confirm meeting update. So Jeff, David, I don't know who wants to start.
I can
Brian,
share.
you're on.
Am I on mute? I don't think so.
Nope, you're good.
Yeah. We met. Jen was out, so Tim went through the compensation system, the one for next year, and kind of what we're kind of the referendum plans, much as Scott did with his team. We had a question. The only question we really had was, has been the practice that Jen reaches out to all the teachers to see who's going to finish their continuing ed, and she only kind of counts in the pool for continuing ed those people that say they're going to finish, and inevitably there's a couple that don't, and it's been $600. It's $600 for 6 credits if you don't, and the question was asked, why doesn't that $600 or $1,200 get rolled into the pool? And the committee actually talked about this specifically because we asked the same question. The trouble is that next year's compensation requires an individual compensation to be loaded in for each individual employee, and then to change it for literally pennies for the $600 that gets divided 200 ways, and then per pay period just didn't make sense. So that's been our practice for a long time. A couple teachers expressed that they weren't aware of that, so they wanted to know how much money they've been cheated out of. Kind of that's the tone that it was said, and so we said we'd look into it, but there's nothing we can do about it. They wanted to carry it over from one year to the next, which really isn't possible. You have to close out the audit. So I mean, it really is nickels and dimes, but that was really the only question and feedback we had. Tim or David, did you have anything to add?
Nope.
I mean, nothing new. It's what we've been telling them all along we were going to do, and it was consistent. And
Pretty short meeting, actually.
Yeah, and I think that's
If,
the big thing for me. What Jeff had just said too is that's the biggest thing for me is that it's consistent.
Yeah.
So
the problem's going to be if we don't, if a referendum might not pass, if it doesn't pass, we really don't have a good plan for what compensation would look like. Right now, it would default to everybody gets $1,200 raise or whatever it is, $1,000 raise. No, because nobody's taking education. And, the concern about that on a long-term basis is that the $40,000 a year teacher is going to go up $1,000 a year, and they're never going to get out of the poverty level. And the continuing ed model allowed younger teachers to take classes, which most of them want to do anyway, and get some compensation credit for it, so they were able to catch up. And we've addressed all of that with the new model that would require a referendum. But I think the committee is going to have to look at, if that doesn't pass, what does a compensation system look like for the following school year?
Okay. Any other comments from anybody? Okay. Thank you. Thank you for the hard work. Thank you for your continued work. So I'd like to thank those teachers also for their hard work during this period. Okay. Are there any other comments from board or superintendent on any other items?
Just one quick thing. I wanted to pass on to the board that all of the groups expressed their gratitude on how much support, both financially and administrative support and everything that they've gotten through this strange time.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. If there are no other board comments or superintendent comments at this time, we'll move on to the next item, which is a discussion with our school communications consultant, Mr. Joe Donovan. So welcome, Joe.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for the opportunity to be with you here this morning. And as I jump in, Tim, did you want to say a few words before I get started, or how would you like to proceed?
Sure, I can just remind the board again, you and I have been communicating and going back and forth and drafting a couple different documents, which we'll be sharing here tonight, and you'll present and obviously discuss with the board, looking for your input. Would you like me to present them, Joe, or you?
Yeah, Tim, if you can maybe I can speak to that. If you're able to share that might be best. I have a hard time walking and chewing gum at the same time, so I appreciate it. Board members, thank you again for the opportunity to be with you here tonight. And again, thanks for the opportunity to work with you. As your superintendent mentioned, we've had a number of really good conversations really to get the ball moving on this. And again, as we've discussed, and when I talked with you during the interview process, obviously, you put a referendum question on the ballot and you hope that it's a solution that your community members, your voters will support. But in doing that, of course, just a reminder that we can't advocate. So we can't campaign for a specific solution. But what we can do is we can share information, we can engage the public, we can provide them with good, useful information, answer their questions. And over the years, I can tell you that has been successful. There are really, as we're working to kind of wrap our arms around the referendum, get started, there are three things that you heard me talk about the first time we met, and that your superintendent and I have been working on since that meeting. And one of them is stakeholders, and we'll talk about stakeholders in a second. That is the groups whose world we need to get into. And I often say, in communities large and small, it's important, while we want to connect with everyone, that's our goal. lots of times if we say we want to connect with everyone, that really means we're going to connect with no one. And so we really want to push and identify groups. The second thing are messages. So again, board members and staff members who are on this video call right now, you've been working on school finance for a long time. You understand the subtleties and nuances of school finance. I always think of someone like my 85-year-old mother. My 85-year-old mother, lives literally next door, did until recently, next to this school where I graduated from. My mom is going to graduate. My mom is going to vote in every single election. My mom doesn't know anything about school finance, yet she's going to vote. So the idea is, what information can we convey to people? Good, truthful information, but do so in a way that people can actually engage with. And of course, the last thing is just an actual roadmap. And I think, folks, that's especially important. And we're going to talk about that in a second. Just because we're in such a weird time. So with that in mind, Tim, if I could have you go to the top, maybe what I can do is just kind of walk through this document. And I'm quick to say, board members, that this is what I would call an initial draft. This is something that we put together in an effort to, again, just get started with that. So again, when we're thinking about the stakeholders, there's a tendency, and this is the mistake I can tell you that I've made, is to try to identify too many stakeholders at the same time. And so you're going to see here that we identified 6 groups. That's not to say that we can't identify more, but these are key audiences, and they include parents of students who are currently in the district, non-parents or community members, maybe who are empty nesters, or maybe they're young people who live in your community. They're going to vote, but they don't have children currently in your district. Certainly teachers and staff. Not only do you have teachers and staff who live in your community, but however many teachers and staff members you have, that's how many people you have speaking on behalf of the district. One of the things I always say as it relates to teachers and staff, while board members and Tim as superintendent, I would love to say that you are the most trusted people in the community, and I know that you're well trusted. What we tend to find is that there's actually an inverse relationship as it relates to trust, and it tends to be people who maybe are a little bit further down the chart, who tend to have tend to be maybe listened to or trust a little bit more. So teachers and staff is a really critical audience. Local businesses and community leaders. Again, I told you about my mom. My dad was the dentist for 42 years in the small town where I grew up in. You needed to know, if you were in the chair with my dad and if he had an opinion, he was going to share it with you while he was working on your teeth. And so business people are important because they tend to be influential. A district alumni, people who have a close connection to the district, and your media. And that's become a more difficult group. We talked a little bit about that during the interview, but it's a key audience to help us carry our messages to our community members and our voters. So I'm going to move on, and then we can answer. We can talk questions and get your feedback maybe when we're done. Then, as it relates to messages, your superintendent and I work through this, and the first thing that you're going to see is in bold. You're going to see a series, kind of a big message, and these are things that we want people to know and understand as they're going into the voting booth. You heard me say during the interview, I think that it's really important, and one of the most challenging parts of this is that people need to understand the need. They also need to understand that there was a process that was used by the board and district to evaluate the need, and ultimately the solution that went on the ballot. A referendum question is really just a proposed solution that was created with a process to address the needs. So you're going to see on the first page that our very first message was a need message, and simply was the district must increase its capacity to offer 4-year-old kindergarten, something that makes both academic and you're going to see under concerned readers. But then we have some backup points. We have some additional information that backs up some talking points. So after we explain that, then I think that the next thing we say is we need to expand our career and technical education spaces. And you're going to see that Tim and I included 3 points about why it's important for the district to do that. The third need message is that the district has pressed outdoor facility needs. We talked about why those are in fact needs rather than why they're wants. And I think that that's an important distinction. Our fourth needs related message is that we must continue to ensure that our school district retains and recruits the best educators we can to support our bold mission, our bold vision. So that is, and again, we talked a little bit about this during the interview process. And again, it was talked a little bit earlier here tonight. As it relates to addressing the needs related to compensation, we know it's critically important, but it's also part of achieving the district's vision. So we've outlined that a little bit in this document from a messaging standpoint. So the idea here, as it relates to those need messages, what I often think of is these are the things that I would communicate maybe to a neighbor. You know, if somebody saw me at the gas station and they wanted to know information about the referendum, I would want them first to understand the needs that the district has. Then I would say, and this is our fifth message, given these needs or considering these needs, the board is actively working to engage the district community and find a solution that balances the needs of our schools with those of the taxpayers. So that is, we've established these needs. Now we're saying we want to create a process. That'll include the kind of engagement efforts that we've talked about. So board members, none of you have ever said during the conversations, oh, we're just going to go ahead and decide what we're going to do and, you know, nuts to the to the community. This really is an idea that you want to engage the community and you want to have them be part of the solution that goes on the ballot. The next message, the sixth message, is maybe a financial message, something I like to build in, that the district's outstanding financial discipline has positioned it well for the future. I think that it's always important to remind people of the good work, the stewardship that has been done over the years. And finally, at the bottom of page 2, you're going to see message 7, which is the solution on the April ballot will, if approved, create additional capacity in the district, and make the district more competitive. It's a focused solution that provides tremendous value to taxpayers. That's an incomplete message. That'll change based on the process that's used to evaluate the needs with the community. So again, I didn't want to go through every word on this message document, but you can see how, as we were working through this, the idea is how do we wrap our arms around the needs of the district, and how do we communicate that in such a way that community members can understand it and be part of the process. I'm going to pause on messages, and I'd like to go to the roadmap. And the roadmap, folks, is just the, hey, here's what we're going to do. And as Tim scrolls down here, one of the things I'd just like to point out is we've talked before. I heard never been in a situation like this before. I can tell you've done an awful lot of projects. This is a new one for me, and I can tell you, and I think I shared this earlier during the interview, that now community members, considering all of kind of the noise, the coronavirus related noise that's out there, all the questions that people have, it's difficult to communicate about the referendum now. And anyone who asks, I say, if you can avoid talking about the referendum now, do so, only because community members generally aren't interested in having that conversation. And again, there's so much noise out there that other concerns are more top of mind, and it's likely that our messages are going to be forgotten. So what we've done, you're going to see that Tim and I, as we were putting this together, we said, well, what if we were to start in August? Now, that's not to say that we wouldn't do work before that, but you're going to see in August, we suggest we're putting putting things together, including a web page, which will live on the district's website, which will be kind of a clearinghouse for all information related to the referendum. We'll use social media to draw people back to that website. And we suggested the use of several mailers. Here, and this is not set in stone, but we suggested the possibility of the first mailer being a large size postcard. Then you're going to see that when we push ahead, that we could do, and may switch this a little bit. You're going to see mailer 1. That may be something that we put together, and we could either send that out in September, if there's an opportunity to do that, if it's less noisy, and we feel comfortable about communicating about a referendum. I'd love to do something in September if we could do that, or we could wait until October. Now, you're going to see here at the bottom of the September-October section, we included in here a survey. The survey is used, again, we've talked a little bit about that before. It's a great communications tool. It allows people to understand the district's needs and to be able to receive information from them that we can use as it relates to putting together a referendum question. We're suggesting that we do that in October. And hopefully that's a less noisy time to do that. We can use one of the mailers to introduce that survey. So that would either be done with the first or second mailer. You're going to see in November, December, all through this, we're doing social media. We're doing, again, another mailer. We're going to be doing some video. We're doing just a ton of video now, as you would imagine, during this time, and we certainly would make use of that. During the Christmas holiday season, that's always kind of a strange time. People usually kind of check out during that time, and so we don't like to overbook that time with communications. February is a very big month. That gives us an opportunity to do 2 mailers in February. We can start doing things like guest articles. If we can do it, you're going to see at the bottom of February, I do have in here an engagement event. Who knows, I can't guess what the world is going to look like, but one of the options, if we can't do an in-person event, is that we do a virtual community event where you invite community members to take place. You're providing information, you're answering questions. March, everything continues. We would another event that would go March, and election day would be on April 6, 2021. So this is something, again, that we created, that we're using as, again, in an effort to just kind of land on our stakeholders, land on our messages, and outline in broad strokes at this point a roadmap, which I think is especially important now, just considering what we're dealing with as it relates to the coronavirus. So with that, Tim, do you have anything to add, or have I missed anything?
Actually, as we go through it, I just realized one thing. One is the engagement of our staff. I guess it didn't put a placeholder for that in there. Asking.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for mentioning that. That we would have a whole such an important piece. Essentially, everything that you're seeing as it relates to the engagement. One of the quick ways of kind of thinking about this is every time we would do an email to the community, we would first do that. If we were in a virtual engagement out community, often it's wise to do the same thing with staff members. So thank you for that. I actually have, Tim, and I should have shared it, and I'm kicking myself for not having done that, an internal communications plan that mirrors this for staff.
Okay.
Okay. Comments from board? Jeff?
I don't see much for community engagement. Talked about one meeting, hopefully live, maybe virtual, but the practice in our district, good, bad, or indifferent, has been to use a committee to evaluate solution, identify, confirm needs, and identify solutions. And I'm just concerned that if we deviate from that, there's going to be a bunch of people that have always been supportive of the district that are going to, because we've always been able to say we have unanimous support of a citizens committee that recommended to the board. And I just don't see that in the plan, and just wonder what your reaction to that is, because we've always tried to engage, and to be honest, we've been an open call. It hasn't been a blue ribbon commission. If you're opposed to everything, we invite you to participate, and we've been able to work through that. And I've always kind of been concerned that we would end up on the least common denominator, because we have operated on consensus, but I don't think that's been the practice. So I'm a little concerned that we don't have more opportunity for the community to hear and react before it's final, that these are the needs, instead of hearing from the community what they think the needs. And we may very well end up with these, but to be honest, these, and I agree with these needs, but these weren't even vetted with the board. So I'm hesitant to go to the community with these.
So with that, maybe I can throw out an option. I did not include a task force model in this. We do that work quite often in districts large and small. We just finished one, and I led one for the Milwaukee Public Schools. Typically, how we've been doing that, and certainly open to what has worked in the district before, is we have used a 4-meeting process where community members come together. If it's an all call, that is, that all community members are able to participate, and I can certainly see the merit of that. Sometimes it's helpful if there are a couple of co-chairs that help facilitate, or just kind of make sure that everyone has a voice in those meetings. But often what those meetings are is we can do the first 3 meetings pretty quickly. They can be week 1, week 2, week 3. Generally, we take a couple of weeks off, and then week 4. The first meeting usually is a discussion of the needs at a high level. The second meeting is a deep dive into the needs. The third meeting is a review of the solutions. Okay, so it's the task force asking the district for information that would allow them to understand and validate the needs. Again, by the third meeting, the task force is making a request that they're looking for information from the district about coming together, putting together some options. And the reason why there's a break between the third meeting and the fourth meeting is that a report is typically written. That's something that often my shop does with the co-chairs, and that takes a little while. And that at the last meeting, then the task force fine tunes it and signs off on it. If we were doing that, we probably would want that to begin. That's probably November-ish, maybe October, November. And often that task force can benefit from the survey. So while typically the board and the district owns the survey, that is, the task force usually isn't responsible for putting that survey to the data that comes from the survey when it comes to put together the solutions. So again, that's something that if board members would want to do, would be something that we could slide into the fall.
I definitely think, just consistent with past practice, we need to get, I think that would help us get community support when they know that it wasn't a handful of board members who's had their brains sucked out by the administration and don't think for ourselves anymore. That I think having broad community input is a better way. I mean, that's the way we've done it. Doesn't have to do it that way, but I just think it's more engaging if we say, we don't have the answers. Here's the needs that we've presented. What do you think? What are the needs? And then here are some solutions. What are, and you know, it might come up. I will tell you that the school board, this is 20 years ago, thought that the community wanted 2 neighborhood elementaries. And when we took that to the task group, absolutely not. We work too hard, these communities to work together. We want 1 elementary. We do not want 2 elementary schools. So we have this mega 700 student elementary school in Roberts, rather than that people wanted their kids to walk to school. But that was completely a community that said, no, that's not what we want. And the board listened, and that's, I think, we passed the referendum because of it. And had we done what the board wanted, suggested, it would have failed.
Okay. I would agree with Jeff on
And as a as a current board member who his first foot in those committees, I think a lot of really good stuff comes out of it, even if it's people telling us, no. Like Jeff said, we are wholeheartedly against that. Hearing that at that point,
anybody else, Scott? Opinion?
That we think needs to be done saves it.
Okay.
Sorry, you were kind of breaking
Anything
up
else,
again, there,
Kirk?
Kirk.
If you shut
Saves
your
us a
video
lot
off,
of time. What was that?
you shut
Shut
your
my video
video
off?
off, then yeah, it usually won't lag. That eats up a lot of the yeah.
So the last thing that I said was, I just think that it saves us from spending a lot of wasting down a road that not going to eventually have the support that we think it's going to.
I think the other advantage is
Did that
those
work?
people they have the facts, they got all the information, they can be ambassadors and explain the rationale to people one at a time. Two, you build your marketers within that system. They've flushed out all the pros and cons and then can answer when they have those individual conversations. They can be really good ambassadors to other voters.
Okay. Thoughts, Scott?
No, I pretty much concur.
Okay. David, any opinions? Okay. Anything, Brian?
The only thing that I would comment on is just on the timing. I understand that the coronavirus and everything occurring right now, but things that we've been talking about at work quite a bit and things I've been reading is just concerns that in October we have an election coming early November. That campaign and all of those mailers are going to suck the oxygen out of the room. So it isn't just going to be competing with whatever's happening from a health perspective. We have this pent up election that's going to be occurring, and would just be concerned if we have all of our critical communication occurring in October. It's just my thoughts on it.
Okay. I think that's one of the reasons we're trying to push this out to April.
Yeah,
Tim,
we have to survey a bunch of meetings there. That's all.
Yeah.
Tim, can you send out the document that you've been reading from? It wasn't posted in our board stuff, was it?
It was not as an exhibit, no.
Yeah. So send that out just so we can study it line by line and give you comments.
You got it. So just to wrap that up, Joe, we'd have the messages would be more needs, right, which you've done. So these are the needs
Right.
that we've seen, and then ask the community what other needs, are we not thinking of? And then, to dive deeper into, the second and third, get answers to, whatever, how much would that cost? Can we do that? What does that look like, et cetera, and come back and form the solutions together.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And in essence, I think that the community task force kind of validates the needs. And it's nice to have, for just as we've discussed here, it's nice to have an outside group having validated that. And again, it sounds like some of you, or maybe most of you, have been through that before. There is the chance that that the needs that are going to be validated in ways that maybe are different than what board members think. But I'm also hearing you say, I think, that you're okay with that. And so just that's the word of warning that a task force may pick this up and say, we get it, but no, we don't think that those are needs. We think that these other items are in fact more significant needs, and we think that these should be prioritized. So a typical situation with that is that with the task force, we're really looking for validation of needs. Usually the task force says, based on these needs, we think that you should go to referendum and solve these issues. And so one of the things I always tell task force members, and especially the co-chairs, is that just keep in mind that you are not board members. You don't have a vote to put this on the ballot. This will then go to the board. The board is going to use your information and decide what to do. And so there may be a situation where, I always tell board members, you don't want to undo the work. That would defeat the purpose to go back and say, task force, we're not going to do what you've suggested. But instead, I think it's helpful for the task force to know that they have a role and the board has a role, and there's a point at which the task force stops and the board picks it up and takes it to the next step.
Joe, I don't know if this is helpful or not, but when we've done these task groups, they've been more than 4 meetings. Some of them have been 8, 10 meetings. But what we did is anybody can come. It's anybody's welcome. But we really want you to commit to come to all the meetings. So you don't then vote and have input with partial information. So the commitment from the community is, that is there for the final solution, that they've come to all the meetings so they have all the information. And it wasn't perfect. Not everybody came to every meeting, but that was kind of the expectation. So you don't just get to come to one meeting and bitch and then not ever come and be part of the solution.
Yeah, agreed. Yep.
Yeah. I think the other important factor is the community survey. Once we get our some idea of what the needs are, it's important to find out what the community tolerance of those needs and the cost tolerance is. And that helps mold the final decision by the task force on the board.
Agreed.
Okay. Any more comments?
No, good work. Thanks.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. I guess then we will, if there's no more questions for communications, we will move on to the next item, which is strategic planning. Tim and I talked a little bit about this. We've now been running on the same strategic plan, which basically hasn't changed for the last 10 years, but we updated it here about 6 years ago. Look at it to see if there's some things that need to be tweaked and maybe revisited, revised. Time to do that. And we're going to talk with the board. We thought we had Joe on board with these other things, and he had done some of this work before. We thought it might be a good time to ask him and see if he would be willing to moderate something like that, and see if the board's willing to get together to do a strategic planning session. So I can open it up to you, Joe.
Yeah, well, first I just say thank you for the opportunity. And as I mentioned to Tim, I've done a lot of this work over the years. Usually it's a situation where I'm working with the district already, and they say, "Hey, Joe, can you come in and help facilitate our strategic plan efforts?" Board members, I'm always very quick to say this, and I mentioned this to Tim as well. There are some people who do this work every single day or every single week. I do more than I ever thought that I would, but I will tell you that while in terms of kind of referendum and other communication, I know that inside and out. This is work that I do. I will tell you, I'm very confident in that other work. This is work that I do, but again, I don't do it every day. That said, I'm very happy to do it. I've done it for a bunch of districts. In fact, just before I jumped on the call here, I printed a document from Green Bay. I helped them over the last several years with their strategic planning efforts. Here's the one thing that I would say, board members, is that again, very happy to do this. And when I'm working with a district, I say I'm always very happy to do that, and I'm not going to charge you extra for it. I'm already working with you. I'm happy to do this work with you. The last thing that I would say is generally, and again, I'm eager and interested to hear how you've done this work in the past. But usually it's facilitating conversation around key questions, and just I think the idea of outlining what success is. One of the questions that I find is one of the most important questions that themselves is, imagine that we're sitting around a table, hopefully in person, a year from now or 10 years from now, and we say we've been amazingly successful, and we all agree that we've been amazingly successful. The question is, what evidence will we be able to point to as proof that we've been successful? And I think that question is one of those that I've used many times over the years in a lot of different ways related to strategic planning. So having said all that, I'm very happy to help you in whatever way I can. And again, it means a lot to me that you'd ask me to help.
Okay. Comments from other board members?
My question would be timeline. When do you best feel that this should get started?
Sooner the better for me.
Yeah.
I'd do it in June.
Yeah, I personally think it'd be helpful to get this done and this plan in place and just grounded to our guiding principles and our goals for the future prior to the referendum planning. I think those two would align very well.
This is one of the things that I do professionally. And I have a network of coaches worldwide that are doing this kind of strategic planning for nonprofits and for-profits, what have you. It's very possible to do it virtually, and there's tools to do it virtually. I also have heard more recently that companies have set up conference rooms that allow social distancing, and so we could all be in the same room, 6 feet apart, and whatever people were comfortable with. But I think we should be able to get it done together in a room, and it might be a cafeteria where we all sit around tables far apart, but I do think it'd be helpful to have everybody in the same room.
Yeah. Well, my thoughts, it would be much more productive face-to-face than if we're scattered on a virtual meeting such as this.
Yeah.
Other board comments?
I agree. And if we have a facilitator who was not able to be there in person, that might not be as bad as all of us trying to be virtual.
I will tell you the experience of my coaches that do this professionally is that you need everybody to be in the same medium. So
Okay.
it doesn't work very well. If the facilitator, maybe, but it's so much better to have everybody either all online or all in the room. It's just the kind of what people have been doing. And, you know, these people have always done everything in person and they've learned to do it virtually. And when they tested some people in the room and other people not, it just doesn't seem to work as well. So I would push either. I mean, they literally send people back to their offices to join virtually rather than some of them in a conference room and some of them remote. So
Fair enough.
Okay.
the experience of hundreds of coaches that are doing this thousands of times a quarter.
Okay. Kirk, David, Brian, any comments?
I agree. I think that our bet would be to have all of us together. I think that we can get much more accomplished that, especially considering even when we do these virtual meetings like this that have worked fairly well, have some problems with communication where there's lag or I think it's just easier to have everybody voice their opinions if we're all
Okay. Okay. Well, it might be something that we could set up even in the high school if we set it up even in the lecture hall. There'd be enough space distancing in there.
Yeah.
That we could work there. We could sit at a cafeteria, whatever. We could work it out. I think the high school has facilities that we could use. Comment, David?
No, I just, you know, in the past, of course, the normal was to hold meetings in person. You know, I agree with you, Howard. I think the high school has quite a few different options as far as spreading people out if anybody's concerned. But, you know, I know that especially through recent times, it's been proven that stuff can happen over the internet. It just doesn't have the same feel. If we can get people in person, even if they're socially distanced, you know, give them 8 or 10 feet if they wanted. You know, get 5 chairs between people, but in person just makes so much of a difference. Just to the, I guess, the feeling of, I don't know, the feeling of it being personal.
Yeah. Okay.
And it still would meet the guidelines of 10 or less.
Yeah.
People 10 or less socially distant, we have the space for that.
Okay. Any ideas, Brian?
No, I disagree with whatever we're going to do from a medium perspective. If we're going to try to do things differently, you're going to have breakout rooms for people to get on a virtual setting, or people to do in person in small settings, or however you do that. You just can't facilitate both because we've been through a bunch of sessions that we've done and it just doesn't work on the different medium. So I think it's important to do it that way.
Yeah. Well, my feeling is it would be much more productive face to face if we could work it out. We can work the social distancing out, and I think the high school has enough facilities that we can work that. So.
Yeah. Good.
I guess the next one would be, when would we want to start this? We're talking June. Is there a date in June?
I would personally for me, like at least the second half of the second week of June, because we talk about all this virtual stuff. Well, we have a business that we're trying to facilitate virtually, and I'm not available. Not that you couldn't do it without me for the first week and a half of June.
Yeah. Okay.
Everybody needs to be a part of it.
Yeah. Everybody needs to be part of this. And if we can work a date in June for everybody, that would be best. And I don't know, are we looking at a full day? Are we looking at a evening or a couple of evenings?
I would do an evening. I would do an evening and a day, like we did, where we kind of got together and did some things in an evening after work. And then, a full day I think we could get a lot done.
Are we looking at the 19th, 20th, or the 26th, 27th? Would be two suggestions if we were to do that. I know weekends are precious to everybody, especially in the summer, but is that workable?
Both of those put me out.
Yeah, I'm not available the 16th through the 20th.
Okay.
Between,
If it's Father's Day weekend, that weekend, the 20th, 21st, I'm out as well.
Okay.
And how
I'm
about
really
that
not available after the
27th?
15th.
What's that?
I'm not available after the 15th of June by anything in June is going to be really tough for me, but nothing after the 15th.
Well, aren't we going to cancel the 4th of July?
We were talking about it.
Okay.
Well, how about the middle of July, like the 10th, 11th?
Is that workable?
I'm coasting downhill after the 4th pretty much, so I can make whatever work.
So Joe, your input, you thinking evening, 4 hours, and then another day for 6 hours or so, or is that too much?
Yeah, no, I think that would work well, and I also I like where this conversation is going. Somebody mentioned not being available. Some of the dates that I'm also not available in June. July, I'm wide open. The other thing, if I could just also echo, is we do a lot of communications planning, and having people. This is much better done in person, and I think that we can would be, I think, much more successful in doing it that way than virtual. Or again, I just echo what others have said about having some people in the room and some people joining virtually just doesn't work. So going back to timing, July is, I'm just looking at my schedule now. Had a lot of cancellations, so I'm pretty much free in July at this point.
Would the 10th, 11th work for everybody?
Well, we have a couple people that aren't on the call, so we need to confirm with them, but works for me.
Evening of the 10th and then the day of the 11th.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's better than
I'm out the 11th.
Who's out?
I am, David.
Yeah, we can't have it if anybody's out, so then we'll have to pick a different date. What about the following weekend?
I'm out the following 17th and 18th and the 24th, 25th.
Yeah, I'm out the 17th through the 25th.
And I'm taking it, I mean, I have flexibility. I can do it during the week, but do we can't do it during the week because people have work obligations?
I get this off for work if I have a board meeting, so that's an excused option for me.
Works well for me.
Plus, I'm furloughed every Friday, so I'm available every Friday too.
Okay.
The only days that I do it in July are the 11th, 12th, and 13th because I'm out to Salt Lake City.
Okay.
I mean, if we're looking at a total time of, what do you think? A couple hours one evening and then maybe 6 hours the next day. If you're looking at 8 hours.
Yep.
What about 3 weeknights in a row? 2.5 hours each evening.
You got Joe traveling across the state, have to basically stay here for 3 days. I'm okay with that.
Joe, does that work with you, or is that a bit unprecedented on what you've done in the past?
I've not done that in the past, but I like you guys a lot, and so I can certainly be flexible in trying to make that work.
I mean, maybe we can knock it out in 2 evenings instead of stretching it to 3. You know, maybe it's 2, 3, 3.5 hour evenings. I know it gets later, but especially in summer, I think, you know, like you had said, Howard, weekends become precious. I think my summer's planned already because of PTO from work. So
Yeah, like two nights in a row, 5 to 9 p.m., something like that. We could order in dinner.
Tim, could we have Pam send out like a doodle where here's some options and what can you do and like see which ones
Survey
line
Monkey
up?
or whatever it is.
Yeah, Doodle's free. So, yep.
Yeah.
Same thing. Yep.
I think do that in the next couple of days. I would get Joe's input and Howard's input first. You know, the three of you pick times that worked for you guys, and then send out some alternatives to the rest of us. Yeah. And I think it has to start in the middle of after the 4th of July, or Scott's not going to be able to participate.
Yeah. Okay, and we'll shoot for weeknights. That seems you're like.
Yeah, I like that.
Weekends are really tough in the summer.
Okay. Take over a board night. You know, that's fine. Do a Wednesday or do a Monday night as one of them.
Well, we could do that. I don't believe we've got a board learning in July.
We don't. Yeah. It's the regular and the annual. Okay. Pam and I will work on a doodle poll. Howard, Joe, and I will start, and Pam.
Okay. Okay. Then if that's agreeable to everybody, then we will move forward with that.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Okay. Next item on the agenda is financial reports. We don't have anything put together at this month, so we will forego that until the probably the first meeting on the 1st. Next item on the agenda is consideration of the consent agenda, which consists of approval of the meeting minutes for our April 20th meeting, approval of the bi-monthly bills for May, approval of terminations of Perry Hoff as our full-time boys assistant soccer coach and full-time girls head soccer coach, approval of resignations of Tracy Crowley as our full-time FBLA coordinator, and approval of appointments of Samantha Martell as our full-time middle school, high school business ed teacher, Paul Sisson as our half-time high school psychologist, Vanessa Thompson as a half-time virtual English teacher, Moritz Cools as a full-time boys head soccer coach, and Thomas Fuller, our full-time boys assistant soccer coach. Okay, do I have a motion?
Move approval.
Okay. Motion,
Second.
Scott. Second, Kirk. Okay.
Yep.
Okay, with that, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Can I just get a clarification on one item, I guess?
Okay.
I didn't get a chance to clear it up before the meeting, and I thought maybe it was good that we could do it at the meeting anyway, and I don't know if we can. But Perry Hoff, is that something we can discuss open session, or is that not something we can do in open session, Tim?
Yeah, I think so. So as you know, you proved that quite a while ago, some months ago. And then our current AD and our future AD have made multiple attempts to contact that person over those months. Been at least 2 months, I think 5 times by Jason or so, a couple times by Brian. They're using a military term, AWOL. That person's AWOL. So no communication over the period of 8, 9, 10 weeks. Had to move on. We have other people that are interested. So
kind of a no call, no show sort of thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Thanks. I was just wondering about that.
Yep.
Okay. Okay. If there's anything else we need to pull off, we could pull it off and put it in new business. Otherwise, we have a motion on the floor to approve the consent agenda as presented. So.
Aye.
Okay. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 Okay, opposed? Okay, motion carries. Okay, I don't believe there's any administrative reports at this time. We move on to our key work of our school board, starting with the student, staff, and community recognition. We have 2 of them this month, and I will read them, but I think in the future I might beg that off to someone else. I don't know if that's something Kirk would be interested in.
I have it up right now, Howard, if you'd like me to read them.
Okay, go ahead, Brian.
Whoops. I had it up until I went back to unmute myself. Recipients, both Garrett Wenzel and Brian Millar. Recognition, we would like to recognize your hard work and initiation in manufacturing and supplying face shields for our law enforcement community. So thank you for that during this time. We really appreciate it.
Okay, thank you. I guess another one that we need to enter into the polls that I don't know a lot of people are aware of yet, of our girls golf team, was awarded a bronze medal for academic athlete Division II team, and so they were the third highest in Division II for cumulative GPA of any team. So we'll get that entered. I'm hoping either Jason or Brian can enter that. So we'll see if we can get the girls recognized for their effort.
So for clarification, John used to read those. Brian, are you willing to take over that responsibility?
That's why I had it up and ready.
All right, awesome.
I have like 8 things up just in case right now.
Okay.
Overachiever.
Go ahead, Brian.
Jack of all, master of none, right?
Welcome to the board. Okay. With that, we'll move on to the next item, which is our discussion of future district needs and priorities. I think we covered quite a bit of that earlier. Is there anything else we need to cover at this time?
Yeah, just wanted to let everybody know that the population study is done. I forwarded that to everyone this afternoon for you to digest, and we'll and I reached out to her this afternoon, and she's willing and able to present at the board learning meeting on June 1st. So she'll be there, go through the presentation in person to explain and answer any questions in detail.
Okay. Okay. Any questions with regards to the population study?
Should we hold those? I read that earlier, Tim. I just had a couple questions on a little bit of the analytics, but should we hold?
Yeah, I think it'd be best to hold
for Hazel.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I'm hoping it'll be we can have a comprehensive conversation with her on the 1st on our board learning meeting.
I mean, you certainly, I think, could feel free to, if there's something that you think would be helpful for her to be aware of ahead of time, and you have her email there, you're welcome to reach out to her and just ask for some clarification if you think it'd be helpful prior to June 1st.
Okay, I might do that.
Yeah, it might help her understand what we're trying to glean from it too.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Any other questions or comments with regards to the population study? Okay, hearing none, then we will move on to the next item on the agenda, which is a presentation of the revisions of the SCC Employee Handbook. Tim, you want to discuss that quick?
Yes, sure. Pam's taken the lead on this, and over the past year has taken a lot of notes, and we really tackled it with this opportunity that we had the last few months. So Pam, Elaine, and I went through that page by page. Tina Bauer helped with the table of contents. So it is complete. It is there as an exhibit for your perusal. It is, I think, 91 pages or something like that. It's a lot to digest. So it's just more FYI if you are so inclined to look through that in great detail, or for if you have insomnia. It's also something you want to keep near your bed, near nightstand. But yeah, it's a joke about it, but kudos to Pam and Elaine for going over that with a fine-tooth comb and updating. So it's been a while since it's been updated. So it was a great feeling to get that done and present to you. And once complete, it'll be presented to everyone on the website. Folks do refer to it often. It's like one of those things. You don't always need it, but when you do, it's incredibly handy. And it is a legal document that we refer to quite often. So if you do get the opportunity, please check that out, and we'll come back and ask for your approval on the June 15th board meeting.
Okay. Yeah, I would like everybody to have a chance to review it. If you have questions or comments, forward those to Tim, but we'd like to give it a blessing by the board by our June 15th meeting. So it should give us pretty close to a month to review it. So hopefully that's satisfactory. Okay. Any questions or comments with regards to that? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to the next item on our agenda, which is consideration of recommended lunch prices for the 2021 school year. And I don't know if everybody received a copy of those. If not, we can review them here quick. Do you have a copy, electronic copy, Tim?
It's an exhibit. Pam updated it, I think, this afternoon. So it's a live link on your agendas, 14A.
Okay. Does everybody have that or found that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Essentially, we're looking at increasing the school lunches by a nickel for each of the K through 4, 5 through 12 breakfast, 5 through 8 lunch, and 9 through 12 lunch. Also for the adult visitor breakfast and lunch, are also looking at nickel increase for each of those. So,
Are we looking at having to increase these? I know we've had to in the past, basically because we've been required to. Is that the case again, that we're increasing these by a nickel because we're being required to?
Pam, do you have the answer to that? I don't have the answer to that. I would go out on a limb to say yes, because but
I think it's been the case in the past that it's happened to us, even though our program tends to do quite well. I think Tammy's just doing a good job running it, but I know we've had to increase prices even when we haven't needed to, but we've been required to. So I don't know if that was the case again this year. Or...
And we got a waiver on increasing them.
If I remember correctly, we're so far behind in raising them in increments to get to the point where we're supposed to be. I think that was the report that we had last year.
yeah, usually it's the federal government that's forcing us to raise it because of their reimbursement for the free and reduced lunch fees. So the school lunch program for the kids that buy it needs to be close to the same price that the federal government is reimbursing at the free and reduced lunch rates.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure my 7 years last year was the only year we didn't raise it for that reason. We were required.
I think we
to every year.
Yeah, we got a waiver to not raise it because we had a fund balance in the year that we didn't raise it, I believe.
Last year.
Yeah.
And we've had to buy a couple of large pieces of equipment this year. So, okay. So with that, do we have a motion to accept the recommendation to raise the lunch rates, breakfast rates?
So moved.
Okay. We got a motion,
Second,
David.
Kirk.
Okay. So we got a motion, David, second, Kirk. to accept the recommendation to raise the school lunch and breakfast fees by 5 cents per meal. Any questions on the motion? Okay, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? The motion carries. Okay, the next item on the agenda is consideration of recommendation for student fees. And I believe I looked at most of those, did not see any increases. I saw a couple of decreases in a couple of the tech ed prices to the students. So
I think the only increase was the high school percussion fee from 30 to 50. I think, as the great philosopher Todd Rundgren said in 1983, I don't want to work. I just want to bang on my drum all day. That's the reason for that one.
Thank you, John. He still lives.
okay. So any questions or comments with regards to that? Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion to accept the recommendation for the student fees as presented for the.
Second,
Okay, I have a motion, sound like a motion, Kirk, second, David.
Jeff.
Jeff,
Thanks,
David.
Jeff.
Close enough.
Kirk.
Okay. Okay. Any further discussion? Yeah. Virtual is no different than the being in face of me keeping track of motion. So, in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, next item on the agenda is the appointment of our district representative as our WASB legislative delegate to the state convention. So we do that during the board reorganization every year. Do we have any volunteers? Let's not beat the door down.
I did it last year.
Sounds like you're volunteering.
No.
Oh, okay. I
Let me
didn't
split it
read the
up.
body language right.
It's supposed to be a Okay. big year at the state convention this next year. It's their 100th anniversary, so they're planning on a big do. So it's an opportunity. I know I had planned on going, so, but I would love to get some of the rest of you down there. So
I'll plan on going, but
okay. Questions, comments?
I nominate Howard for district representative.
second.
This moved unanimous.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Aye.
I can see the train leaving the station. Okay. That may change later, but I'll take it for now.
Okay.
Thank you, Howard.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is to designate a Citizen State Bank of Roberts as our official depository for the St. Croix Central School District. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
So moved.
Okay. A motion, Jeff. We had a second, Scott.
Yeah, that works.
Okay. I didn't catch who the second was.
Everybody.
Okay. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed?
Aye.
Okay. Motion carries. Next item is to designate the Star Observer as the official newspaper of the St. Croix Central School District.
So moved.
Do
So
we have
moved.
a
Kirk.
motion? Okay.
Second.
Do we have a second? Okay, I have a motion, Kirk, second, David. Designate the Star Observer as the official newspaper for St. Croix Central School District. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 Okay. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, the next is selection of board members to serve on committees. Presently, the two committees that we have are the support staff negotiating committee and the teaching staff negotiating committee. Those committees for the teachers I know are Jeff, David, and Brian. The support staff has been Scott, Kirk, and Tricia. My recommendation would be to leave those same members unless somebody wants to change.
I would suggest for continuity, we leave them the same.
Okay, input from other board members?
I'd suggest the same.
Okay,
I'm okay with it.
Agreed.
okay. If that's agreeable, then I'd entertain a motion to approve that.
So moved.
So moved, Kirk.
Okay, I've got Scott, second Kirk. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Opposed? Okay, motion carried. Next item is consideration of the proposed board dates, which I believe is another exhibit. The only changes to the first and third Mondays come in September because of Labor Day. We have moved it from the 7th, which is Labor Day, to the 14th for a board learning meeting. And therefore, we moved our September meeting to the 28th, which is the fourth Monday. December, because of the Christmas concerts, we do not hold a board learning meeting that month. So we moved the regular board meeting to the 14th of December, which is earlier than the normal board meeting. And then January, because of the state convention and New Year's, we moved the board learning meeting to the second Monday of January and the regular board meeting to the 25th, which is the fourth Monday. So, are there any conflicts there? Suggestions? Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion to approve that.
So moved.
Okay. We have a motion, David. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Got a second from Brian? Okay. Okay. With that, any further discussion?
I got to get you in the minutes, Brian.
Yeah, you'll find out about that freight train. Okay, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, opposed? Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is extracurricular assignments review for the 2020-2021 season. Comments there, Tim?
Yeah, so Chance and Jason are both in a meeting. This is something Pam invites them to do annually, just to give the board a heads up if there are any changes, big or small, that they anticipate for the upcoming year. You know, the obvious one at the high school is the addition of the soccer program. As you all know, that's in the budget. It's well underway, but you know that was about a $50,000 addition, and of course, you know, facilities and coaches and officials, and you know that'll be a big undertaking. And Jason is working closely with Brian in that transition. So, but with that said, maybe let's start with Chance in middle school and go to Jason at the high school.
Thanks, Tim. Thanks, everybody. Evening. Yeah, I told Tim today that I anticipate, as much as I am a forecaster, that things will be status quo, will be around the same. But I'm here in case you guys have questions or curious about anything in particular or have specific questions on.
Okay.
And while you think about that, I can quickly report, I don't know if you guys have been shared the news or not, but Brian Johnson was over with Larry and Greg and Pete and I earlier this week to measure to see if the middle school football field could fit a regulation size soccer field. And with about a foot to spare, I think it fits. So some good news there.
Okay. Good.
Nice.
Okay. Questions for Chance? Okay. Jason?
Good evening, everybody. On the high school end, the only future considerations that Brian and I have kind of talked about already is just the getting all the varsity athletics to 3 coaching or 3 levels. We added an additional girls golf last year, and boys golf is in that same position as far as numbers. That would be the last, besides soccer, that would be the last varsity sport that we do not have 3 coaches or 3 levels at. Boys golf is in the position to have 3 levels as well. So that would be a consideration for next year. And then also elementary play, I know was brought to Tim my attention again in February as a discussion point of adding another elementary school play mentor position, which is the lowest bucket due to the amount of or that student to supervisor ratio. So those would be the only 2 positions for consideration or discussion.
Okay. Okay. And those would be budgeted positions then, Jason?
Correct. So the elementary school, these were not brought up in the initial budget stuff, just with everything going on in the shifting sands. So that's taking the opportunity now just to bring it up for consideration or just further discussion as you guys move forward with programming. I know that the elementary school play position was brought up early on in the year as a potential need or something to really consider because of the supervision and student to adult ratio. I don't know if Tim can comment more on that as well, but
Yeah, I would work with Jen. It's a very small number for the budget, so I don't see that as an issue. I think we can move forward with that, knowing the numbers are always going to be high. That's pretty certain. And then with boys golf, would you advise that's kind of a wait and see just to confirm in with sign up?
correct. Yeah, so that's kind of a wait and see, but wanted to put it on the radar. For the last 3 years, we've had approximately 26 to 32 signed up. We have run bootleg C squad type scrimmage stuff with Baldwin, with the 2 coaches that we had on staff. So they were basically taking turns. They did apply some cutting measures to get it down to an appropriate ratio, and then they were tag teaming. Some kids would have days off and vice versa last year. Obviously it didn't happen this year, but the participation numbers or sign up registered were still high, comparable to 2 years ago. So I would bet that trend would continue. Golf at St. Croix Central has been continuing to increase in participation every year. And that would be something to really consider probably as Brian gets participation numbers early on or later in the winter months.
Okay. I guess the question that I have with the upcoming season with soccer starting, are we looking at 3 levels of coaches there? Or are we on a wait and see?
No, Brian and I have talked, and we're going to base everything off of the preliminary participation numbers that we gathered in November when we were doing the kind of the committee approach. We have only designed a varsity season for both boys and girls to start, and then from there we can build from there. We thought it was appropriate to continue on with the model of having a varsity head coach and an assistant coach to make sure that we were able to build a program. We can always add some JV games later if appropriate, but we did not design the schedule, at least the fall, with a JV team in mind. But we do have a full season scheduled. It's balanced home and away, and everything's all ready to go.
When was
now that we have coaches.
When was the most recent sign up or survey for kids? What's the most recent information we have for numbers?
The most recent information is back in the winter. We have not sent out any fall participation kind of preemptive stuff yet. I think we're waiting to communicate out with surveys and different things here at the end of the month.
Off the top of your head, what was that number of interest back in the winter? What were our numbers?
I think off the top of my head, we were floating between 15 and right around 15, I want to say. And I know 11 is a varsity squad. So we were right in the ballpark of fielding one level with some subs. So.
And again, yeah, what makes the ideal number for a team? 13 to 18, something like that?
Yeah, I think 13 to 18 is the ballpark range. And talking to Maritz, the new head boys coach in the interview process, he talked a lot about subs, what a good solid team looks like as far as numbers, and then also his vision for kind of building the program into multiple levels moving forward.
Is there any number that, like, say we get to 30, that we would consider adding a JV schedule?
Yeah, definitely. I think if we get up to 25, 30, we'll definitely be considering that. We could also do, and I'll talk with Brian about this too, but if we get up into the 18 to 22 range where we're not quite able to field a JV full schedule, we can do a modified schedule where they are able to kind of take subs and make a JV or a condensed JV schedule so they actually have games scheduled. That way all the subs are getting actual play time consistently.
Yep.
So there's things we can do.
Excellent.
Okay. Any other questions for Jason? Okay. Well, thank you.
Thank you both.
Okay, moving on to the next item is discussion regarding extracurricular assignment liquidated damages. Tim?
Yeah, I'd mentioned this briefly, something we were at least thinking about in a previous meeting, but much like we have for our teachers, liquidated damage, the same reasons and rationale would go into consideration of a assessment of liquidated damages for coaches. For the same reasons we get put in a bind sometimes when coaches resign late, and it has a ripple effect that's not good for kids. So something that, could be a deterrent perhaps, like it is for the teachers. Are you interested in the administration and coaches and perhaps a small committee looking into a proposal? Just off the top of my head, with timelines, whether it's 2 months, 1 month, or during the season, and levels, like percentages, I'm thinking off the top of my head would make more sense because some extracurricular positions are $500 and others are $4,000. So a flat fee probably wouldn't be fair. And then also maybe a differential in the activities that are annual for their ongoing for the whole year versus, the seasonal ones. So just kind of finding something that's fair, that it can be applied to all our activities and athletic positions. Are you interested in us moving forward with that and coming to you with a proposal next month?
Sure. Personally, I think it's something that we need to look into. I think a percentage of their coaching fee is appropriate. What that percentage is, I'm not sure. but some of them have left us in some awful jams when they decide they don't want to coach 2 weeks before the beginning of the season. So, comments, Scott?
No, I'm okay with a advisory committee to come up with something for it.
Okay.
So I just a clarifying question on that, Tim. Are you talking about prior to the 2 weeks prior to the season before they've received any pay that they would have a penalty?
Correct.
Prior to receiving any fee?
Correct. So yeah, like, and again, it's to be determined, but 2 months, let's say, might be the first one, say, or 1 month, or whatever those increments are, we feel, ooh, we're really put in a bind, and this has a negative ripple effect, And we've had coaches that resigned that literally the day before the season started, and that was not good. So yeah, and as the board, experienced board members see, I mean, every month there are two, 3, 4 at least, resignations and appointments, and it's just, I mean, there's a cost to that, and I understand we don't want to, we're not going to ever make people, do activities that don't want to. That's not good for kids either. But when I always say the contract works both ways, and you've committed. We're cruising along, we're ready to season to start, and last minute, whatever that is, last 3 weeks, last 2 weeks, last week, or whatever, you resign. So I don't feel like doing it. It's not how contracts work, in my opinion. They need to be able to work. They need to be able to protect the interests of the district and the kids as well.
Okay.
There's a real cost associated with that.
Okay. Okay. Do you have ideas who should serve on this advisory committee? You want to get together with your coaches and ADs?
For sure, the ADs, and I was thinking, asking the ADs if there are some coaches or using the head coaches PLC for input. Is what I'm thinking off the top of my head, but I'll start with our athletic directors.
Okay. Any further questions or comments on that issue?
I guess the only thing that I would mention would be that we might want to have an extenuating circumstances clause, or medical, something like that.
Yes, most definitely. Yep.
Okay. Any other questions or comments with regards to that issue? Okay. Move on to the next item, which is other business. Is there anything else that we need to cover at this time?
Jeff, you're coming in Tuesday to sign diplomas. Is that correct?
I'll come in tomorrow.
Okay. Excellent.
I'll call ahead for somebody to be there.
Okay.
How are those diplomas getting to our graduates?
That's to be determined yet. I don't know if Kurt's still on. You might have an idea. I haven't got that far.
Yeah, I'm on.
Okay.
We talked about a couple ideas. One of them, though, I kind of just been batting around in my head is we have not only the graduation diplomas, but we also have the scholarships and the certificates for academic and athletic 4-year letter winners and so on. We thought if we could get that organized, it would be kind of neat to do a face-to-face delivery. I know I've had some staff that would volunteer to do that and meet the kid at their house and deliver it to them. Might be a nice personal touch, but Tim's first comment is probably most accurate. We're still trying to kind of figure that out, but that's what I'm leaning towards right now in terms of an idea. But I don't know. I'm open to suggestions.
Well, I think that definitely is preferable, and as long as everyone involved is comfortable with it. I mean, we've been distributing meals to homes, so I certainly don't see wouldn't be able to get some of these very important documents for these kids, to them and their families face to face. Like I say, as long as everyone involved is comfortable with it, I think that's definitely preferable.
Yeah, I agree. And it wouldn't be sit down in the living room and have a conversation, but it would be, like you said, go to the door, congratulate them and move on. So plus our staff misses these kids, and it would be great for them to get to at least go see a couple of them.
It might not be a bad idea, I guess, if the families are right with it, to just take a quick video of dropping stuff off and congratulating them.
Sure.
Okay. Okay, well, we're working on a plan on that. So, are there any other questions or other business we need to bring before the board? Hearing none, we'll go on to the important upcoming dates. June 1st. June 1st is the CISA 11 annual convention at 7 p.m. Turtle Lake. That'll be a virtual meeting. I was voted to represent St. Croix Central at that meeting, so I'll be at that. So as a result, Kirk, you'll be running the June 1st meeting. Starts at 6:30 at the district office. I'm guessing it'll be a virtual meeting also. So
it was the three agenda items on that one.
The population study will make it long enough.
Oh, that's right. Sorry, Kirk.
It'll be adjourned before it even comes.
Oh, you sound like the legislature now. Okay, next date is June 15th, which is a regular scheduled board meeting, which starts at 7 p.m. I'm guessing that'll also be a virtual meeting. We have the graduation ceremony set for July 25th. Are there any other dates that we missed? I know we have the annual meeting coming up in July, but that's not part of this scheduled dates for this year's meetings. So the
and that
annual
July
meeting is scheduled for July 27th at the elementary school in Roberts. So
and that July 25th graduation ceremony, that is no longer active, correct?
not the face-to-face, it'll be the virtual meeting or virtual graduation. So it will still be going on the 25th. So any other dates? Okay, with none, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Hi.
Hi.
Okay, you get that second motion, David? Okay. Everybody's adjourned, so have a safe evening, and we'll talk to you all soon.
Have a good evening.
Thanks, everyone. Good night.
Meeting.
Memorial Day. Enjoy Memorial Day.